Personally, my own favorite Churchill quote, in the midst of the Blitz, when he spoke out to the English people, "Stay calm and carry on." These guys, the slogan is something like, "Freak out and disrupt." So let's freak out and disrupt a little bit. Good evening, everybody. We're delighted to be first off. And let me take no further time by way of introductions, and let's just get into it. First thing I want to say is I thought I was going to be late for supper because of all of those damn Model S's in the parking lot. I couldn't find a place to put my Mazda.
Yeah, I mean, who came here in a Model?
Who has to do with that?
Model S, everybody? Anybody? All right, thank you. You're changing the face of the automobile and one car at a time. Thank you.
And before I get into things, actually, why is it that the Model S phenomenon has taken the West Coast by storm and the East Coast by storm, but has left this little bit of a void in the middle? Can you deal with that?
Can I deal with it? Not really, but we're a California company. California is great at recognizing innovation and being leaders in that, and kind of broadcasting that out to the world. So they'll get there soon enough.
I have no doubt. Okay, let's start. Thank you all for coming, and thank you all in advance for your attention. Thanks for the invitation. Maybe we can start out by just asking you, how is design at Tesla organized? Who's in charge? What are the divisions? What do you guys do for a living? Can you just say a little bit about what it means to head a design team at Tesla Motors?
Yeah, sure. I head up the design team, work directly with Elon, and brought a couple members.
Elon, that name is familiar to me.
Yeah, maybe you've heard of him. And a couple of my team members are with me today. We actually have a very small design team. It's comprised of 6 designers and myself. And 6 years ago, it was an army of one. It was me. And we've grown now to a small design team, but a support staff that just gets us through all the different aspects of design, and it's about 100 people strong now. So David joined a couple years ago. Bernie's been kind of by my side since the beginning. We actually worked together at Mazda, and I think Volkswagen as well back in 20 years ago, something like that. So, but we're a small team, and we just go for it.
Dave and Bernie, can you say a little bit about what you personally do?
Yeah.
And if you want to add something about what it's like to work with him, that's okay.
So I manage the exterior and interior design team. We're the 6 people that Franz was referring to. It's a wonderful experience having such a tight-knit team and having a great leader. One of the reasons I joined really was I wanted to go somewhere where the leadership had a really strong vision. Elon's a part of that, and so is Franz.
I work on the exterior design portion of our design team. And I've worked with Franz, as you mentioned, for many years, and he's been always just a very strong purveyor of just excellence and high quality design, and that's been something that has been sometimes really challenging. But then at the same time, when we look back, we're really glad that he pushed us that hard, and you can see that in the product as well.
So that might be some kind of a key to the magical team you push, and you push back. Are they okay?
They better.
Yeah, it's expected. Among the 3 of you, you've got a tremendous amount of industry experience with Mazda, with Chrysler, General Motors, Opel. Can you tell us a little bit about what's different to be a designer at Tesla from the way design is organized in, let's call it the 20th century automotive industry, which is fast receding into the past?
Well, actually, I think you referred to us challenging Franz as one thing, and I think that's something that's unique about Tesla. There's an openness to it, an ability to challenge people, ask questions, ask Elon questions, ask Franz questions, and you're not put down or put in your place because of it. And I think because of that openness, a lot of innovation and a lot of good questions get asked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. The chain of communication is much shorter than it is in other companies, so we can be a lot more decisive. Things happen very quickly. I think we can accomplish in 2 months what other companies can do in 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we all learned was how not to do things coming from other companies, especially the big automotive companies, and we brought that with us and said, all right, we have to kind of discard that baggage and create our new path, and communication is really key. So, you know, being a small team, working directly with Elon, working directly side by side with engineers, allows us to iterate quickly and not wait for information to pass back and forth. And I think that's one of the most important things in kind of in anything. To move fast, you have to be able to communicate quickly and come to a decision and move forward.
I think probably everybody here, and certainly me, were interested in what it's like to work with Elon Musk. I've always felt that I have a lot in common with Elon. Every morning, we both wake up, we stretch, take a deep breath, and say, how am I going to change the world? And then I roll over and go back to sleep. And he does it.
And he launches a rocket or builds a
factory. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to work with Elon. Is he a hands-on manager? Is there pushback? Is he...
I mean, a lot of us know and see Elon as kind of the face of Tesla, and especially on the financial side, but he's really a product guy. He's an engineer through and through. So he's involved in every detail, every aspect of the product. And I think that's amazing when you have a leader, a CEO, somebody that really invests time and energy into making sure every nuance of every product and understands that if the product isn't perfect, then your company isn't perfect. And when you have that kind of push and that energy and that drive, that just makes us respond and makes us, you know, deliver as well. And I think, you know, again, it's part of that communication that we have. So Elon is very involved in the product. We see him on a daily basis and interact with him daily, and he wouldn't have it any other way.
And the same as we move outward into the organization?
Yeah, I think he's very accessible. Like Franz said, we see him every day. He isn't afraid to come up to you and kick the ladder out from under you and really challenge you to a point of tears almost, because he knows that in doing so, that will bring out the best in you.
I think...
This isn't being recorded, is it?
Okay. Your, to my mind, astonishingly small and compact team has succeeded in what I personally believe is the most important innovation in the automotive industry in 100 years. How did you even start?
Well, we had this conversation a little bit 5 minutes ago about, you know, when I equate it to being perhaps like an author, and you're presented with a blank page and need to write the book. And I think the hardest part is to start. The hardest part is to put the first words on the page and get that process going. And we were basically presented, when I joined Tesla 6 years ago, it was the same thing. We were at the infancy of an idea of what Model S, this sedan, could be. And it could have been anything. We could have designed and created anything. We had a couple of key components that we wanted to incorporate into the overall product, but the important part was, from my perspective, we had to capture all those things and make it beautiful and get people interested and involved in a disruptive technology. And we didn't want to alienate anybody from what, you know, if you think back 6 years, an electric car was a glorified golf cart. And we didn't want to alienate people from what our vision of electric propulsion could be, which was better than gasoline-powered car. So, you know, we started with kind of whatever you want kind of thing. Just make it great. And the hardest part was getting, you know, kick-started and getting going. And once we did, man, we took off.
I myself have faced the terror of a blank sheet of paper a few times.
It's a dream. You know, you as a designer, maybe an author, and maybe as an artist in general, in any kind of profession, the idea of being able to do whatever you want, anything, is an amazing dream. But actually starting that is probably one of the hardest things.
You want to add anything to that from the perspective of interior and exterior?
I think what's been really kind of liberating is that we don't need to package this big motor in the front of the car anymore. There's no drive shaft. There's no tunneling for exhaust. It's been, like Franz has said in the past, like we just have this battery pack and we have all this opportunity on top of that. And I think as a designer, it was really difficult in the very beginning because we're so accustomed to this architecture.
Yeah.
And for those limitations not to be there anymore, we had to really dig deep into our creativity. And I think it's to everybody's benefit what the architecture of the vehicle is now.
Yeah, that's so interesting because, we start out, if you say car, you think four wheels, steering wheel, and, the iconography of the automobile as it's developed over 100 years. And you had an opportunity to really mess with that. So here's another question. Let's, this has been a little bit of softball. Let's go to hardball if we can. The Model S has been, I don't know if I want to say criticized, but a number of commentators have remarked that it's a surprisingly conservative, or I think your word is restrained design. Can you say a little bit about that? You had the opportunity to do anything.
Yeah, and I think,
why doesn't it have just one wheel?
I think if you look back at, yeah, right, that would be great. More efficient.
That's why they didn't hire me.
Yeah. If you look back at where we were in time 6 years ago, electric cars were, like I said, a glorified golf cart, and that was the impression. And we didn't have kind of a competitive set, and the ones that were aspiring to be in this marketplace, tended to be all over the map. And what we knew as we developed Roadster that we had a really great recipe. We had a recipe that proved that you could have performance, and you could have range, and you could have everything that a typical normally aspirated engine vehicle could deliver, and better. Cleaner, efficiency was great, and there's no emissions, et cetera. So knowing that we had that underneath the skin, we needed to create a product, and I was really felt it was really important that we create a product that attracted people to this technology, because this technology, we take it a little bit for granted now, but back then it was new to everybody and really pretty scary to anybody beyond an early adopter.
Uh-huh.
And if we created the Jetsons Mobile, we would have catered to the early adopters and stopped right there. And we would not have been able to appeal to more of a mass market and had a confident car that can carry itself next to BMW, Audi, Mercedes, Lexus, and these types of products, and have the owners feel confident in their daily life with this product. Mm-hmm. And that's what we wanted. We wanted them to kind of, like I refer to the moth to the flame, be attracted to the product regardless of what's underneath the hood, learn about the technology, and then be engrossed in that and learn how it changes their life.
So you could have, with your blank sheet of paper, tabula rasa, you could have had at it with, an art center, Batmobile, whatever. Yeah. But there's a deliberate decision to make it accessible and, as I think you've said elsewhere, create a car that people could imagine owning.
Yeah, and we were building a brand at the same time, and it's really tough to build a brand off a niche kind of a high-end, expensive sports car. Yeah, but we were building a brand off of a sedan, and this was really the kind of the shoulders, and it needed to be broad shoulders that the brand could build off of and sustain itself over time and build into new product like Model X and forward looking into Model 3, et cetera, and really sustain ourselves until we could get to even more affordable mass market electric vehicles.
I think the design of Model S also helps drive home the point that it's a very uncompromising vision. You can have supermodel proportions, yet at the same time have an electric motor and fit 7 people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And your golf clubs.
And your golf clubs.
Yeah.
In the front.
Charles Eames, who, as you doubtless know, America's most famous and beloved designer, once said that the mark of a really great design team is not your ability to escape constraints, but your skill in working within constraints. Can you say a little bit about what some of the constraints were in developing this new automotive concept?
I mean, we talked a little bit about architecture. We created a new architecture in the automotive market with the way that we engineer the vehicle, where the battery and the powertrain are really integral into the vehicle, and they need to exist and coexist with each other. And that's very different from, like you heard Bernie say, different from where a lot of us had come from in the past. I think we provided our own constraints in trying to create something that was very refined and tailored and exquisite and kind of this jewel element like Model S. And had we not had constraints like that, we would have ended up with Jetsons mobiles and things. You can just walk downstairs and look at what kind of the future of the automobile could have been, and we could have gone there very quickly, but I wonder if it would have really led to our ultimate goal as a company and Elon's ultimate goal, which is the mass adoption of electrical vehicles.
You talked about going downstairs to see, get a little bit of a sense of the future. Google has been running its experiments. Do you feel like speculating in front of an audience about the future of the automotive industry?
I mean, personally, I think the automotive industry, we're poised for a really dramatic, massive change in how we interact and deal with the automobile. I mean, if you look downstairs, there's kind of a little history on autonomous driving. But autonomous driving is right at our doorstep. I mean, in just a few years, every company, every automotive company, including us, will be kind of into the foray and delivering an autonomous driving vehicle. And that's dramatically going to change the way that we perceive, interact with, design and develop, and create the automobile. And it's a really exciting new future. I think there's going to be people that are challenged by this. Giving up a little bit of control is kind of scary, and I think there's a whole new younger generation that is really excited about not having to drive anywhere and having the car take you somewhere. I know I am.
I think it's also one of the reasons, quite seriously, why virtually all of the major automotive companies have moved to Silicon Valley to be part of what else is going to be part of the automotive experience besides
They're just trying to look in our windows.
Okay. Oh, is that what it is? Okay. Okay, so now, Mr. Magical Team, I want to know, at what point did you guys feel like we nailed it?
I mean, personally, we started, Tesla Design started, like I said, 6 years ago, and we really started in the back corner of SpaceX. When I joined Tesla, there was no design team, and we started with a little tent in the back of a rocket factory, and probably in a space maybe a little bit bigger than this stage here, and
It's the Southern California version of a garage.
Yeah, we kind of equated ourselves to a garage band playing on a big stage. We had this vision and this idea, and this amazing leader who really believed in it, and we believed in that as well, that we were actually changing the future and creating something that could change the future. And that was in 2008 when the kind of nuclear bomb of the financial world just was blowing up. And so we kind of had this mix of vision and, oh crap, what's happening in the world coming together. And once we were able to, through amazing leadership, actually ride through that storm, continuing to focus on the product, we announced and kind of showcased our first impression of what an electric car could be. And I think we felt, the public response from that initial reveal and the interest that we had from there was, it was amazing. We took orders on that first day, and I think that's when, we realized that we actually, from your words, that we had nailed this idea that until that point was, a dream, speculation. We thought we were doing the right thing, and then we realized we were.
Yeah. Well, you've got an amazing leader. I think you are an amazing leader, and it sounds like you've got an amazing team. So congratulations on your great work, and we can't wait to see what's next.
Yeah, me neither. Thanks.